Hi everyone, in this video we're going to learn how to solve quadratic equations. Now what does a quadratic equation look like? So you can see underneath here we have y equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. And for quadratic equations, this a coefficient can't be equal to 0, otherwise it will become a linear equation. What does it mean to solve quadratic equations? Now this is very important. In order to solve quadratic equation, what that means is to find the value of x when you're actually making the whole quadratic expression equal to 0. What does it look like? Another way to say it is solve for x when ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So there are a couple of cases that we need to look at. So we're going to start from the first one, and I call it type 1. So the first type is when you only have this ax squared term exist, there's no linear term bx. So you can't see bx or 3x, 4x, 5x like this. So let's have a look at a couple of examples together. So the first one is to ask you to solve x squared equals to 100. Now, we all know that 10 squared equals to 100, and straight away you say, oh, x equals to 10. But my question is that the only case? So you have 10 squared equals to 100. And what about the negative 10 whole thing squared? That's negative 10 times by negative 10. So it will give us 100 as well. So that means when we undo the square on x, we actually get positive and negative answers of the square root of 100. So therefore, x equals to positive and negative 10. So you have two answers when you undo the square for the x. Let's have a look at the second one. You have 2x squared equals to 50. Okay, so firstly, we're going to actually get rid of that coefficient 2 by divided by 2 on both sides. Therefore, I have x squared is 25. Now I'm going to undo the square for x, and that will give me two options, which is positive and negative square root of 25. So therefore, x is positive and negative 5. Question C. Solve this equation. We can see we have 4x squared term, and I don't know what that is, plus 2 equals to 10. So the first one is I can actually take away 2 on both sides. So that will give me 4x squared equals to 8. Now this time I can divide it by 4 on both sides. That will give me x squared equals to 8 divided by 4, which is 2. So x squared equals to 2. I'm going to undo the square for this case. So I'm going to put it on the right hand side here. Therefore, my x equals to positive and negative square root of 2. Now I can't simplify the square root 2 any further. So my answer is positive and negative square root 2. Let's have a look at the second case, which is we call it you factorize and solve quadratic equations. But for this case, you do have the ax squared term plus bx. So bx will appear in your question, and then plus c, a constant equal to 0. And sometimes this constant is on the other side, sometimes the bx term is on the other side as well. But before we start, we're going to actually look at one thing that is called Null Factor Law. And what does this word null actually mean? That actually means 0. So we are talking about zero factor law here. So let's think about this. If I have something times by another thing, I don't know what the numbers are, but when I multiply them, the results will be 0. What are the possibilities that I have for each number? It can be either 0 times by the second number is 0, or I can have the first number times by second number is 0 equals 0. So as long as one of them is 0, so one of the factors is 0, that means my results will be 0. This is called null factor law. So if I have something times by something equals 0, so I have two possibilities here. Either the first bracket will be 0, or my second bracket equals to 0. So we're going to utilize the null factor law to solve quadratic equations. Let's have a look at the examples here. So the first one, they ask you to solve x bracket, x minus 6 bracket equals to 0. Now, you can see there's no operation sign between the x and bracket, so that means x times by this whole bracket equals 0. So you can see the whole bracket as one object. So just now we used the null factor law, so we can apply the same thing. So you have two options here. So either the first number, which is x, is equal to 0, or the second number needs to be 0. So we're gonna start with that. So therefore, my x can be 0, or my x minus 6 whole thing is 0, and continuously solve for what x is. So therefore, x is 6. What you can do is you can actually substitute one of the values back into the original equation and check whether the whole answer will be 0, which is on the right hand side. And if it is, then you are correct. Let's have a look at question B. We have x plus 1 times by x minus 2. So you have bracket times by bracket. So that means as long as one of them 0, the final result will be 0. So you have options of x plus 1 equals 0, or x minus 2 equals to 0. Therefore, you can solve each of them. So the first one, x will be minus 1, and the second one will be positive 2. What I would love you to try is pause the video here and then try the following two questions by yourself and then come back and check the answer. Question C. You have again bracket times by bracket equals 0. So we have options of 2x plus 1 equals 0, or you have 3x minus 1 will give you 0. So continue to solve it. I bring minus 1 on both sides, so 2x is negative 1, and divided by 2 on both sides, so that will give me negative half for x. Continue with the second one here, plus 1 on both sides, and then you divide it by 3 on both sides, so that will give you x is 1 on 3. Question D, again, apply the null factor law because it's something times something give you 0. So therefore, y plus root 2 equals 0, or y minus root 3 equals 0. So therefore, keep solving for the first one. So y equals to negative root 2, or y equals to root 3. Now you know how to use the null factor law when the equation is something times something. But we do have the cases it's not in a factorized format. So for example, question A, you have 3x squared minus 3x equals 0. Now if you look at it, it's not something times by something. What you have is something minus something. So first question you're gonna ask, is there any common factor? If so, I'm gonna factorize it so that I can actually solve the problem. So from here, I can say this is 3x times by x, and the second part is 3x times by 1. Now, there are common factor of the 3x, so I can take the 3x out, put the brackets on. What's left is x, and this minus, and I have 1 equals to 0. By factorizing it, now I have something times by another thing. So therefore, we can continuously use the null factor law. So therefore, it's 3x equals 0, or is this whole bracket x minus 1 is 0. Continue solve for x. So 3 times 0 is equal to 0. So the only option is x is 0. The second one is x has to be 1 because 1 minus 1 will give us 0. Now let's have a look at question B. We have x squared equals 6x. Now often students, what they think about, oh, both sides has x, can I divide it by x? Now the answer is you can't. If you're doing that, you are actually missing out another possible solution. So firstly, what we are going to do is to rearrange it. So we're gonna actually bring that 6x to the left hand side, so make it equals to 0. Now this is what I said in the beginning of the video. You must have the quadratic equation equals to 0. So what that means is on one side of the equation, it has to be 0 first. Now we're going to ask ourselves, can I factorize it? The answer is yes, because you have x times x for x squared. You have negative 6 times by x for the second one. So we have the common factor of x and x. Now we're going to take the common factor out, put the brackets on. Now this time, be careful. I literally treat the negative 6x all together. So I actually say the factors are negative 6 times by x. So you don't have to worry about this negative sign above. You just focus on the negative 6 here. So x is left and negative 6 is left. Put it into the brackets, make it equal to 0. Now, using the null factor law, the options are x equals 0 or x minus 6 is 0. So x0 is one option and one solution, and x equal to 6 is another solution. Now let's have a look at question C. Feel free to pause the video anytime to try the question by yourself. Now question C, I have m squared and I have 7m. The highest power is squared, so that means this is quadratic. So what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that one side is 0. So I'm going to bring this to the other side. So that will give me m squared minus 7m. The whole thing will equal to 0. Now again, I can factorize it. The common factor is m. And this, because you can see that m times m squared. The second one is negative 7 times by m. So m, take the common factor out, put the brackets on, and whatever's left goes into the bracket equals to 0. So therefore, m equals 0 or m minus 7 is 0. So therefore, m is 7. So you have two possible solutions. Now let's have a look at these questions. Now, sometimes you don't have common factors anymore. If you don't have a common factor but it's still quadratic, ask yourself, can I actually factorize in a different way? So start with the constant. 8 is 2 times by 4. Are these two numbers add to 6? The answer is yes. So now we can factorize it into x plus 2 times by x plus 4 equals to 0. Now you can see bracket times bracket equals 0, so we can use the null factor law. So therefore x plus 2 equals 0 or x plus 4 is 0. So therefore I have two solutions. The first one is negative 2 and the second one is negative 4. Now please pause the video and try the remaining questions and then come back and check the answer. Let's have a look at question E. Again, we can actually do the factorizing, find the factors of 6. That will be 2 and 3. These multiply together give me 6. Great. But if I add these two numbers, it doesn't give me negative 5. So another option is actually let both of them to be negative, because negative times negative is positive. Negative 2 plus negative 3 is negative 5. So if I factorize it, that will be x minus 2, x minus 3 equals 0. So therefore, continue with the null factor law. You can say each one of them can be 0. So therefore, x equals 2 or x equals 3 are the possible solutions. Question F. If you look at it, this is not really in the nice highest power to the lowest. So what we can do here is we can actually put the x squared first, but you have a negative in the front. That's not really nice as well. So we're gonna actually make it positive. So that means we actually need to bring everything on this side to the other side to swap it. So therefore we can have x squared plus x. You are basically switching all the signs to the opposite, and minus 56 equals 0. Then we can factorize it. So think about 56, maybe 7 times 8. And which one should be negative? Because these two add up to positive 1. Now remember, this is invisible 1 here. So in order to have a positive 1, the 7 must be negative. So therefore, it's x minus 7 times by x plus 8 equals 0. So therefore we have x minus 7 equals 0 or x plus 8 is 0. So x is 7 or x is negative 8. Now let's have a look at the last one. So you can see x squared plus 8x equal to negative 15. Oh, one side of the equation is not 0. So what do I need to do? So I can actually bring this negative 5 to join the left-hand side. So that will give me a really nice quadratic look. And that will become positive 15 equals to 0. So now I can continue to factorize it. So 15 is 3 times by 5. That's great. And 3 plus 5, does it give me 8? Yes. So now we can continue to put it into factorized format. So x plus 3 bracket times by x plus 5 equals 0. So you have x plus 3 is 0 or x plus 5 is 0. So you have x equals negative 3 as your solution, and the other one is x is negative 5.